Assalamu alaikum dear students, welcome back after a long break. My dear students, this is class 9 biology class and I'm your teacher Adnan Alam. Dear students, in our previous lectures, we just got finished chapter 8. Today we are going to start chapter 9, which is the last chapter of our course, and the title of the chapter 9 is Transport. My dear students, first of all, we need to know what is transport. Transport means the mechanism by which the materials move from one side to another. This is the definition of transport. Now, what is the need of the transport? Dear students, in living organisms, there are thousands of metabolic reactions going on. For that metabolic reactions, some materials should be transported from the environment into the cell. Why into the cell? Because cell is the basic unit of living organism and it is the site of metabolic reactions. So some materials from the environment should be transported to the cells. Along with that, different metabolic wastes are produced which are harmful. If they accumulate, they are harmful, they are toxic, it need to be disposed. So from the cell, then these materials should be transported to the environment. My dear students, just like digestion is a vital process, excretion, circulation, many mechanisms we have, the vital processes. Along with that, transportation of different materials from the site of production to the site of action is very important. And only mechanism we have is the transport. Dear students, in this chapter we will study transport in plants and transport in animals, specifically in transport in humans we will study. Dear students, let me to give you some examples by which you will easily understand the importance of the transport mechanism. All of you know very well the process of photosynthesis in green plants. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process by which plants prepare their own food in the presence of sunlight. So for the photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water is needed to be transported from environment to the plant body. Environment to plant body. The plant cells. So if there is no transport mechanism, just imagine we fail to transport carbon dioxide and water to the plants. So there will be no possibility of photosynthesis. If there is no possibility of photosynthesis, how the life will sustain on the earth? Second example is respiration. Respiration is a very vital process in both plants and animals. Respiration needs oxygen as a raw material, and this oxygen should be transported from the environment to the cells. And a byproduct is usually we got from respiration, that is carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide should be disposed to the external environment. Along with that, in photosynthesis, we get oxygen. That oxygen is transported to the external environment. So things are coming from the environment, things are going back to the environment, and all of these exchanges are possible by the mechanism of the transport. Dear students, this is the importance of the transportation mechanism. So hope that people got understanding. Again, I am repeating, transport is a mechanism by which the materials move from one side to another side. And I told you the importance that metabolic reactions need materials from the environment, and the waste material which are produced as the result of their metabolic reactions that should be disposed to the environment. Again, we need the transportation mechanism, and both of the metabolic reactions, photosynthesis and respirations, examples I explained. Along with that, we are eating food. When this food comes into our body, our digestive system digests then that digested food comes into our blood, and our blood transport them towards the cells, and in the cells, led by respiration, we get the energy. So if just we skip the transportation process, the transport process, then how the digested food will be transported, will come to the cell, will reach to the cell, and from where we will get energy. So without transport, none of the vital metabolic reaction, metabolic process, none of life process is possible. There are many mechanisms of transport. In chapter 4, you people study some transportation mechanisms like diffusion, osmosis, active transport. But these transports were on similar levels. Now, in this chapter, we will study the transport on organism level, and we will study that how materials come from the environment into the plants and animals, and how then they are transported to the cells. So let's start the first topic, that is transpiration. Due to the reduced syllabus, I am going to start the transpiration directly because some topics are excluded by the federal board, but I will give a little idea of the excluded material also to give you proper concept. My dear students, let me tell you about transpiration and first transported plants. First, I wish to tell you about transport in plants. My dear students, plants have no circulatory system like animals. Usually in plant body, the water and plus minerals are ions. The source of the water and mineral is the soil, and plants usually uptake the water and minerals, and then they transport it to the upper part of the plant. And the channel which is used, the path which is used, the tissue which is used for the transportation of water and mineral is called a xylem. You know very well about the xylem, dear students. The xylem is a type of conducting tissue which is responsible for the conduction of water and minerals. In the same way, the food is usually prepared in the green plants like in leaves. Then there are the prepared food. What is the food of the plant? The food of the plant is the saccharose. And saccharose is usually by photosynthesis, glucose is manufactured, and from glucose plus fructose, the saccharose is found, and saccharose is the available food in the plant. So this is an important MCQ which you should keep in mind, that if somebody asks you, if in an MCQ come, that in which form, in which form of carbohydrate is usually present in food, in plants, in form of food, that is saccharose, and that saccharose is usually transported. Now, from the leaves, that saccharose will be transported to the lower parts of the plant, because this is the site of production, and the site of actions are usually here, are the parts which usually need food. So the food will be transported from the site of production to the site of action, are the sites where it should be stored. So the path which are channeled, the conducting tissue which is responsible for the conduction of food is called phloem. So xylem and phloem are two very important conducting tissues which are responsible for the conduction of food and water and minerals. So I think the mechanism of transport in plants is very clear to you people. Now, the question arises that what is the mechanism responsible for the conduction of water and minerals? As water and mineral is going against the gravitational force, so there should be a pumping mechanism. We need a pumping mechanism by which we can move water and minerals to the upper part of the plant, as we don't need any kind of exact pumping mechanism for the food, transport of food, as it is coming towards the direction of the gravitational force. So actual pumping force that we need is the xylem, is the transportation of water and mineral through xylem. And the responsible pumping force is the this is an example of how water is usually uptake of water occur. This is also called ascent of state. My dear students, as the sunlight is falling on the leaf, the water usually evaporates from the aerial parts of the plant. So when the water evaporates from aerial parts of the plant, then this process, this evaporation is called transpiration. This process is called transpiration. So when water evaporates from the aerial parts of the plant, and this process is called transpiration, so we can say water is transpiring. But when water or any substance is evaporating, like not only water, sweat is usually have a major part is water that is evaporating from our body, that mechanism is called perspiration. So this is evaporation when from any non-living surface water is evaporating, then this is called evaporation. If it is evaporating from the plants, then this is called transpiration, and if it is evaporating from the animal's body, then this is called perspiration. So these three terms you need to keep in mind. Now come to the topic. water is transpiring. So when water transpires, there is a deficiency of water in the leaf. That deficiency is covered by the stem xylem. It will draw water from the stem xylem. When there will be deficiency of water in the xylem of the stem, it will draw. There will be a pumping. There will be a suction force created. A suction force will be created, and that suction force is usually called as transpiration pull. The transpiration, by transpiration pull, the water will be pulled from the xylem of the leaf, xylem of the roots, and the xylem of the roots are in the reservoir, and the reservoir are in the water. So water will continuously move, and and along with water, different minerals will move, and from this side, from the soil, the water will be transported to the top of the plant. Some plant sites are enormous, like 400 feet. So they need a comprehensive mechanism of the transportation, and that is transpiration pull. Now I am coming to the process of transpiration. That what is transpiration and what are different factors that are affecting the process of transpiration, and then what is the significance of this transpiration process. Now, while I have just given you a background of the transpiration process, although these pathways and mechanism are excluded, but still I wish that your concepts should be clear, crystal clear about the mechanism. So let me to start the transpiration process. The types, and then we will discuss few factors which is affecting the rate of transpiration. Sorry. Transpiration. Evaporation. Of water from aerial parts of the plant. This process is called transpiration. As the sun rays are falling on the leaves, the water should evaporate, and this is called as transpiration. Dear students, what are the types of this process, transpiration? Three types of transpiration is identified. One, and the major one, stomatal. Transpiration. Second, lenticular. Third one, cuticular. One by one I will explain. First one is stomatal, which is 90% of the total transpiration. And the major one, what is stomatal transpiration? Before explaining stomatal transpiration, my students must know what is stomata actually. Stomata are the small stomata. Stoma is singular, stomata. These are openings, guarded openings, guarded openings on the surface of the leaves and young stems. This is a diagram which I will tell you that how is the structure of stomata. These two are guard cells. These guard cells are responsible for the opening and closing of the stomata. Usually, the stomata are open at the day and close at the night. So when the stomata are open, there will be more transpiration. If the stomata are closed, then how the water will move. So when the water transpire through stomata. This type of transpiration is usually called as stomatal transpiration. Then the second type, what is lenticel? Lenticel. Lenticels, these are non-guarded irregular openings on the mature stem of the plant. You know very well that when you see the mature stem of a tree, you will see some cracks usually present, and these cracks are the result of the secondary growth in the plant. What is secondary growth? Primary growth is a type of growth in which usually the plant increase the height. Secondary growth is the growth in which the plant usually increase the width. So when the secondary growth is going on, there is enormous pressure on the bark by which cracks appear on the bark of the mature stem, and these irregular openings, cracks, are usually called lenticel, and the very little portion, 5% of the transpiration water can evaporate through lenticel. Third one is cuticle. Cuticle. So first we need to know what is cuticle. Cuticle is made of cutin, which is a wax, and if you see the surface of the leaves, some leaves are very shiny. Why they are shiny? Because this cutin wax is present on its surface, and it's strong hydrophobic. It prevents the evaporation of water from the plant body. Still 5% of the water evaporate from the cuticle also. So this is the transpiration mechanism. Definition. It's three types: stomatal, 90% of the water usually evaporate, then lenticular through lenticels, and cuticular. These are the three types of transpirations which usually take place. Now, different factors which are excluded now. I will let me give you a short intro of the different type of the factors that are affected. This process is not an independent process, but it is affected by many factors like temperature. If temperature increase, the rate of transpiration will increase. But if temperature increase from the critical level and too much increase occur, then the rate of transpiration will drop, because stomata will definitely got denature and wilting of the plant will be resulted. Light, if more light, stomata will be open. Stomata open, more transpiration. Humidity is inversely proportional. How? Because if there is more water outside the plant, then the water can't move outside. That's why if more humidity we have in the air, then less transpiration will be resulted. And number of stomata, leaf area, these all are the factors, are the contributors in the process of transpiration. Even if they are affecting positively or negatively, they have a great relationship with the process of transpiration. Now, the final thing of today is the significance of this process, transpiration. Sorry. Next is significance of transpiration. A word is written in the book, which is very interesting now, that this is a necessary evil. This is a necessary evil. Why this is called as a necessary evil? First, I will come to its necessity. Why it is necessary. My dear students, in the first part of my lecture, I told you that conduction of water, transportation of water to the upper part of the ground is solely through transpiration pull. And if there is a transpiration, if there is no transpiration, then how transpiration pull will generate? And if there is no transpiration pull, how the water will move? This is impossible. Along with that, if water is coming to the environment, definitely it will load on the temperature of the surrounding, having a cooling effect. A cooling effect for us, but for plant survival, water must move here because here photosynthesis is going on, and for the photosynthesis, water is very essential. And this water should move. So if there is no transpiration, how the transpiration pull will generate, and if there is no transpiration pull, water will not move, there will be no photosynthesis. Because for the plant, getting water from the environment is not very possible. Even still, in some plants like bryophytes, which are very lower plants, they are called hygroscopic. Hygroscopic means they can take water from the environment from the air, like in the droplets they are present, they can take it. But for the higher plants, it is impossible that they should get the water from the environment, from the environment, and it's not possible that they should take the water from the air humidity, in the water which is present in the environment. They can't take it. So they must need the water from the soil, and from the soil, if they are taking the water, definitely transpiration, for transpiration, they need transpiration, pull and for. So this is very, very important. But why this is called as evil? Dear students, if there is more transpiration, then the underground water, which is called as water table. Water table will goes down, and available water for the humans will be affected. So it is necessary, but as it has an adverse effect over the water level, then we can call it as an evil also. Some plants like euphorbia that are usually responsible for the great number of water uptake and responsible for the water table. They are responsible to decrease the water level. It is advised that we have to avoid such plants in the area which are usually suffering from the falling water table, and water available water for the human is already very less, and still we plant certain trees which have a great rate of transpiration. And this is not a it will not it will not be a handsome idea that you bring a plant and you say that plants are very important for them. Yes, they are important, but in the area which have water table is going down, you should plant the trees which have less transpiration rate. Euphorbia like plants which are great water drinkers are not suitable for the areas which are already having the problem of falling water table. So dear students, hope that you got good understanding of the transpiration significance. In our coming lecture, inshallah, we will pursue this chapter. This is my advice to you. Please watch the lecture and so many times, get good understanding. Still, if you got any problem, come to the Zoom session. We will be available and will answer to your questions, your problems. Thank you so much. Stay in home, stay blessed.